welcome to Burnout and Beyond podcast. I am your host, Victor Bartley, and in this space, we explore burnout intervention measures in the lives of people. Burnout syndrome is not anything new, but has been an existing pandemic within mainstream culture. Leaders in various industries have faced this in silence, but we want to encourage every listener that you are not alone, and burnout is an invitation to begin again. Today's episode is a timeless conversation with Stephen Stack. In this discussion, Stack, as he is commonly known, shares a memorable episode with burnout that was the cause for him recalibrating his life. Join the conversation as we grow beyond burnout with Stack. Hello, and welcome again to another episode of Burnout and Beyond. I am Victor Bartley, your host, and I'm thrilled today to share the space with a good friend of mine, Stephen L. Stack. Stack, welcome to the space, man.
What's good? What's good, man? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. We have been friends for years now, and we have gone in respective directions, and it's awesome to see how your life is being molded and shaped by Creator, and how Christ is using you in unique ways to be a blessing to many people, man. So it's great to have you on.
Yeah, no, for real. Thank you for having me, man. And it's been an honor just to see how God has been moving through you as well.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. I appreciate that. Well, man, for those that don't know you, would you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do?
So, like you said, Stephen Stack, and I'd say particularly what I do financial consulting and coaching, helping people with their finances from debt payoff strategies to budgeting and investing, education and investment strategies. So that's what I like to do, but I speak from what I know and what I've actually done myself. So not only am I certified to actually be able to just talk about these things, but I'm debt free myself, including my home that I'm speaking from today. And I've also been a millionaire since age 31. So I
Awesome.
know a little bit about money.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. That's incredible. That's incredible, man. As you such a wealth of knowledge surrounding finances. In this space, we're relating to people that have experienced burnout. Um, in your life, with from the financial aspect or just life in general, is there an experience of burnout that you can recall that stands out to you?
Yeah, so there's a period in my life where I had made a change career wise, and so in one sense things were really well, had set things up financially well for my family and I in that transition, and yet there was a pressure that I was putting on myself of, man, I want to really cut down the learning curve. Um, in that transition, there were so many things happening. So it was a change of career. We were moving. My wife was pregnant at the time with our second kid. Um, so there were a lot of moving parts. And what ended up happening is I was getting up early, going to bed late, like really putting a lot of energy and time into trying to quickly cut this learning curve that it was putting me in a space of burnout.
Mhm.
Um, and and I had to really change some things, and even just from a mentality standpoint too,
Mhm.
to get out of that space that I was in.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. So you were in transition. And it's kind of funny you mentioned transitions, but transitions are just highly stressful experiences, whether even if they're uneventful.
Right,
And
right.
so, the transition, the multiple transitions in location and job, and then additional children. Yeah, just a lot was going on as you are reflecting and sharing. Um, and you, I mean, that's cemented in your mind. When you were going through this, sometimes when burnout happens, or we're on the verge of it, or in the full swing of it, we can tend to sometimes say, well, hey, I'll just push through it this time, or I'll just keep going. And after this is done, then I'll take my break. With this particular episode, was there kind of a point where you said, okay, hey, I just need to stop? Did you reach that point, or what clued you in to the fact that you needed to do something different?
Well, it was just, I mean, I could just see that what I was doing and the mental space that I was in wasn't sustainable, and just wasn't a healthy mind frame to be in. And really, what changed for me is I had to sit back and say, man, what's the end game here? Like, why are you putting this level of pressure on yourself to get things together in this time frame? and
Mm.
and the reasoning behind it was not worth all of the stress that I was putting on myself to perform. And as crazy as God would have it be, when I really started to peel back and rest more and
Mhm.
focus more on all that he had done and was good. The wild part was, all of a sudden the learning curve cut itself. Like, so
Yeah.
it was actually in my resting, not my striving, that I actually had the breakthrough.
Man, you said in the church you would say that's a whole word, man. That's a whole word. But even for those that are not church, this idea is I think Creator has designed this in such a way to where it's universally applied. That research is constantly showing us, scriptures and sacred texts, the Bible, for those that identify as Christian and believers, like that rest is the prerequisite for the productivity that we want.
Right, right,
And you're nailing it. And research is pointing to this as well, that there is a cycle of life that includes rest, and that if we neglect it, then we are shortchanging ourselves. No matter how much we think that we're better off if we just keep going, if we just keep going and striving, but it's resting. Um,
right,
so simple, yet sometimes so hard to do.
right, right,
Yeah,
right.
man.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. It was. It took a while for me to get there, but once I did, I made a decision. I don't want to go back.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. And you highlight something that is critical for those that are experiencing burnout, because it can there are varying degrees and dynamics that can be associated with burnout. And for you, it was kind of just drawing back and just really resetting, that has done it for you. And like you said, I love what you said, that after that experience, I said, I'm not going back here. Like, I'm not going to just continue to loop in this cycle, um, of of being in and out of burnout, and living kind of um, this unsustainable way. That's extremely awesome, man. That's extremely awesome. As you were giving us the description of just the idea of unsustainable living, one of the things that comes to mind that I often share with people and ask is, what's your picture of success?
Mm,
Right? Our pictures drive us to certain destinations.
right,
Like, if we had this idea in mind, like, I've got to become this, or I have to do this, or this is what my end game is, or this is what the goal is, this is the vision that I have in mind. Like, we will fight tooth and nail to not change that picture.
hmm,
And sometimes it's just an adjustment to the picture that's necessary, that's so freeing. and
Right.
it's cool. It's cool to hear how you captured that. Let me ask you, being a family man, a man of faith, and you were in a career. Were there clues that you were getting from those close to you, that you needed to make some shifts, or was it just something internally that you sensed?
It was, I'd say it was more so internally. Obviously,
Okay.
you get some clues from for those, if you're in a relationship, partner, spouse, so on. From those close to you of just, hey, everything okay? So, I would get some of that from my spouse. Um, but it really had to click for me internally to really see it, um, and then say, okay, this isn't healthy. Like, even
Mhm.
though I'm not a stranger to hard work, and I know there's a season for everything. So sometimes there are stretches where you really need to push. Um,
Absolutely.
it I was just like, man, this there's a healthier way to push than what I was doing. And I'm like, man, I need to reset and just kind of fall back some. And when I did, it was wild to see how things really started to fill themselves out.
Man, awesome. Awesome, awesome. As you are, as life goes on, sometimes the temptation to go back into the space of burnout may reappear. When you start to feel maybe even that you're on the edge or on the verge of getting there, what's a go-to strategy that's included in your rest rhythm?
So there's a lot of regular things that I like to do that help me
Okay,
to stay grounded. So
awesome.
for the people of faith, that's reading, whether scripture or sacred text, whatever that is. That was something for me. Taking
Mhm.
time for prayer and just meditating, making sure I actually get adequate rest. um, I like to exercise, but one thing that I actually really do like to do is just go outside and just walk outside. Um, and I used to do it where I'd be listening to something, like maybe I'd listen to like a podcast or music or something like that. But I've even changed that up a little bit to just walk outside and just hear the noises from outside, hear the birds chirping,
Hmm.
hear, maybe neighbors' kids playing outside, or whatever's going on, and just kind of taking in everything around me as I'm moving. Those are things that help to slow me down and just remember not only who I am, but also why am I doing what I'm doing.
No, that's awesome, man. Those are some awesome, tips and strategies for resting. The one that I really resonate and connect with is the going outside in nature without anything and just listening. The melody of nature is unparalleled, and
Mhm.
just it's just something not only reviving about being out in nature, um, but freeing at the same time. And so that's super awesome. That's super awesome. The let me ask you, as far as when you go into these spaces, these routines, um, how would you? I mean, obviously, you have found your rhythm that helps you practice prevention. For someone that's been in a scenario that you've been in, where they're pushing to and striving extremely hard for this particular goal, putting pressure on themselves that's unnecessary. What tips would you recommend for them to one, recognize that they are experiencing burnout? Um, that's part one of it, and then the follow up would be, what is it that you would recommend them to start doing after they become aware?
So this is a big picture thing, but I think everything starts here is to know who you are. Like, what is your identity rooted in? Because ultimately, at our core, we're going to function from that. So if I believe that my identity is rooted in just purely what I do or what I can produce, it's just going to be really hard to not burn out. Because if
Mm,
fundamentally I believe that I am what I do, then no matter how bad the symptoms may be, I'll just keep doing because
mm,
I'm like, man, but this is who I am.
mm,
I am this act or these actions that I do or what I produce, um, which I believe is at the core of all of these things.
mm,
But where you can start is with trying to get a better understanding of that. Um, you can actually, for people, if you got people in your life, family, friends, talk to them. Hey, do I seem to be out of whack here? Are you reckoning? Because a lot of times they can see what we can't. Um,
that's a good point. Yeah.
just to be able to speak to that, and if you find that you're there, whether you recognize it or someone else helped you to, um, look for simple ways to be able to slow down.
Hmm.
Like, and maybe it could be doing some kind of a staycation. Like, you don't have to even go anywhere. Maybe it's just, hey, I'm gonna do a bunch of nothing in pockets while at
Mm,
home,
hmm,
you know, and just not go there. And if you're like, oh man, well, being in the house gets me antsy and makes me think about other things I need to do, that's where the get outside, get into nature, go walk, or if you have the means to do it, maybe you can do a vacation. So
hmm.
I'm one of these people who I can go to the beach without getting in the water easily. You know what I mean? Like, I'll get in, but I can
Hmm.
easily go to the beach and just sit by the water in the shade and
Mm,
just listen to the waves crash.
yeah. Yeah.
And that literally rejuvenate me, and refresh me.
Man, that's super awesome. That's super awesome, man. You're nailing it in just this simple idea of being centered in my true self. There's a quote by Oscar Wilde that I am digesting more and more. It just simply says that most people are other people. That literally we have digested quotations of other people's lives as though they're our lives. We are mimicking their passions. And so we have just become what other people, copycats of other people, even though we're saying, hey, I'm doing me. Right. And so, like, really, as you said, like being clear on who am I? Who am I? It's such a soul work. It's such a deep um it's a deep work that's rewarding.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's as you're sharing from your experience and from the fruit that it's produced for your life, and then for others that you also affect, the legacy that you leave for, um, your family, children, your spouse, and others that you influence. That's deep. That's significant. That someone is living out of that clear sense of self, and not one that's an imposter, or a quotation, so to speak. That's significant. That's significant. Um, let me ask you one other question. Um, as you reflect back to that period of that huge transition, and you are now on the other side where you are practicing prevention, um, for someone that, um, for friends and others that you see in these spaces that are maybe in denial about kind of that space of pushing too hard, um, are there things that you can recognize that they don't see? If you're speaking to, maybe your friend is on the other side of this podcast and is watching and is listening, is there something that maybe you see that they can't see, that can help bring awareness for them?
So it can be, you can, like, even our bodies will give us cues
Mhm.
that something is off. So just looking at your health, like how does your body feel? Do you take time to take care of yourself? And again, I'm not saying go out go out here and do, like CrossFit or be, some like ultra fitness
Mhm.
fanatic. Um, but even just some basic things around health can be cues, um, to let you know that something may be off. Um, that's a place you can start. Um, if there's mood changes, so say you're typically more of a happier, jovial person, and
Mhm.
you haven't been, where it's a pretty sharp shift, or even just a meaningful one, that could be a sign that you're pushing too hard. You can look at your sleep patterns. Um, if your mind is constantly racing at night, where it's keeping you from being able to fall asleep, um, those are things that can be cues to let you know something might be off. So,
No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome, man. Stack, it's been a pleasure, man, to have you on. Before we let you go, though, we've got to find out, how can we best connect with you and learn more about what you do. Burnout is not your focus, man. Finances is, and but
that's
you
all right.
have but you have shared with us your experience of burnout, that you've shared some incredible insights, for those that may be in the financial realm, or in other industries, that is significant. But to connect with you in your platform, in your space, where you serve as a financial coach and consultant, what is the best way that we can connect with you?
So, I've got a website. It's just Stephen with a V. So StephenLStack.com. That's one way you can easily just read more about me, connect with me from there. On social media, it's my handle is at stacking with stack. So that's for Instagram and Facebook. You can find me on both of those platforms there. And man, this is a wonderful conversation. I just want to say this: of they very much go together. When you think about
Mm,
burnout and finance, oh my goodness.
yeah.
Um, because if your finances aren't right, you are more likely to burn out and do it more
Mm,
quickly because the stress mounts up. Um,
fast.
that much more.
Mm,
So they're very much there. But even for people who are in a good space, they can potentially be burnt out, and it could be greed driven. Of just, I want
mm,
more and more and more and more and more, and you're pushing. And what I like to say is, uh, be careful that you don't lose your family while trying to provide a better future for them.
mm.
You know,
Wow.
so.
No, that's powerful. That's powerful. That's powerful. Well, you've heard it from Stephen L. Stack. He has shared some gems with us, some powerful perspectives, even from the financial consulting and coaching role that he serves in. Um, just how burnout can find its way into different and various aspects of our lives. And so we want you to remember that in your own experience of burnout, that you're not alone, that others have been there, they've recovered, they're practicing even prevention. But always remember that if you are in the space of burnout, that burnout is an invitation to begin again. Peace out. Stack is too cool. Did you catch all of those one-liners? The one that sticks out for me the most is when he said, "It was in my resting, not my striving, that I had my breakthrough." Resting is more than simply sleeping. It's a peaceful pace that has sustainable rhythm. Like he said, the speed of life can change. The seasons may require more or less. The terrain you're traveling on may be a bit more demanding. But is your internal clock steady? Take courage and prioritize rest as a part of your rhythm in the race this year. Hey, I want to thank you for joining this episode of Burnout and Beyond. To see previous episodes, visit the podcast page on victorspeakslife.org. If you or your organization want to grow beyond burnout, share your information by clicking the Book Victor icon. And until next time, live well.